Hello and welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors PrecisionHydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalize your hydration strategy today at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code OxygenAddict.
We're also brought to you by foodcell.co.uk.
The next generation of top tube nutritional carriers for your bike, designed to allow endurance triathletes and cyclists to carry enough food and gels while allowing easy access. Check it out at foodcell.co.uk.
And finally, we're brought to you by teamoxygenaddict.com.
Helping hundreds of age group triathletes see huge improvements in their triathlon performances. The time training system makes sure that you get the important training done each week in a way that complements the rest of your life.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the show. Hello, Hells. How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks, Rob. I've had a nice break from reality.
A bit of a hollybobs.
Bit of a hollybobs, yeah. We were camping, as you do, in at the beginning of October in the UK.
Nice.
We did go to an Airbnb a night early.
Did you get caught by the weather?
Well, we sort of did. We get caught by the weather. I think we held out for the first few days, as in we hung on in there.
Yeah.
And then there was a window of opportunity to put the tent away in the dry. So we
You took it, did you?
We thought, right, it's now had a day and a half of no rain. We are putting that bad boy away and we're going to go a night early to the Airbnb.
Good for you.
So,
Escape the crazy weather.
Yes. So it was good. So lots of walking, lots of cake. And I don't know if you've ever been down to this corner of the world, but Dorset, very nice.
Bit of Dumbledore, is that what it's called? No, Dumbledore's one of the characters from
Harry Potter.
What am I thinking of?
Yes. It is similar.
It's that bridge thing, that that natural rock formation. Durdledore, that's what I'm thinking of.
Durdledore, yes. So we were down the road from Durdledore.
It's lovely.
Yeah,
down
it's
that
gorgeous. So what a nice coastline.
Awesome stuff.
Durdledore, yeah, we went to see Dumbledore.
My brain is tapioca. Helen have spent all weekend tutoring for British triathlon training coaches, and it's still early on Monday morning. Let's
it
put
is
it that
early.
way.
You're allowed. You're allowed. It's no. Honestly, it's far
apologies
too
to any
early,
fans of Lord of the Rings. No, Dumbledore's in
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Oh my God! Should we start again?
No. I think this is entertaining.
Keep on rolling.
Keep on rolling.
Oh, good Lord! Right, let's
hilarious.
talk about some
Happy Monday,
results.
everyone.
Right, so first up, results sponsored by Precision Hydration. You all know the score by now. Precision Hydration make awesome electrolyte salts in different strengths. So if you're racing out in the heat, which isn't a problem for Helen camping down in the southwest of England in October, but maybe you could have used your Precision Hydration boxes to weigh your tent down and stop it blowing away in the wind, Helen.
I think that would have been a good idea. Seriously, if we packed wetsuits, did they make an appearance? No, it was a bit too rough.
But I tell you what, if you're racing out in Kona, you are going to need to take some serious thought to what you're doing with hydration and electrolytes. And so, if you were racing hot weather, if you're transitioning into the turbo season and you're going to be indoors training in the hot and sweating buckets, get over to ph.com. You can take their online sweat test and that'll give you a lead as to whether you're a particularly heavy or salty sweater. And if you are, and you don't take care of replacing those electrolytes, that's going to mess with your body. It's going to mean you probably get loads of cramps, and it's going to mean that if you're racing in really, really hot weather, you probably run the risk of getting quite sick as well. So get over there, take the test, and then get yourself some Precision Hydration electrolyte salts that are going to match the way that you personally sweat. So races this week, it was probably pretty warm and toasty out at 70.3 Lanzarote, Hells.
It was also very, very stormy, Rob, and the Canary Islands government sort of cancelled all swims and that kind of activity because of Hurricane Lorenzo was forecast. So effectively, it was too dangerous for them for people to swim. So the swim at 70.3 Ironman Lanzarote or Ironman 70.3 Lanzarote, whichever way you want to do it. My God, can we hit record again?
I love it.
Was cancelled, which made Rob for a very interesting start in the pro race. Because basically, the pro men, Mark Buckingham got a video of it, which has gone a little bit crazy, and you've seen it as well. The pro men started by having to run to the pegs of their Ironman race and grab their bike stuff out their bag, but all at the same time, and it just looked like absolute carnage.
When I read that they'd had a bit of a run into T1, I imagined, like I think a lot of people did, they'd had a mile or 2 miles or a 5K or something. But it literally looks like a rugby scrum, doesn't it? It reminded me a lot of when I was a PE teacher and you had year 11 PE last thing in the afternoon and all the kids came charging in desperate to try and get the kit on to go and play football. Just mayhem, wasn't it?
Yeah, they're all trying to get the same, to the same peg. There's just no room. They were like, I thought, oh my
Not
God,
good
if there'd
planning.
been more
No,
people,
not at all.
really bad, like potential for crushing effectively, because they were up against a fence. It's not very nice to watch.
No. Well, we'll retweet that and people can see it. But I'll tell you what, when people are paying huge chunks of money to go and do these well-organised events, they should have a contingency and plan for what happens. And other events do it. We were at the Outlaw, weren't we? And crazy weather blows through. They've got a contingency plan for everything happening. So it might not be what people want, but at least it's organised. There's no excuse for not having a plan for having a cancelled swim when you're on Lanzarote and the swim takes place. I think they should sort their act out. That's my first Monday morning rant of the day, Hells.
No, it's all good. There'll be many more. There will be many
probably
more.
Will.
What was I going to say though? Yeah, that start, the sort of what effectively looks like rugby scrum start. That was the men's pro race. The age groupers were set off at 45-second intervals.
It's still not what people want, is it? I don't think. That's the that's the big challenge of it. And it looks like there are a lot of very, very similar bike times as well. So
yeah.
Difficult when people want to race fairly. Anyway, results. On the women's side, there was a win for, no surprises really, super runner Emma Pallant takes out.
Yep, 4:08. Another win for her. She won at Cascais in Portugal last week. And then Alexandra Tondeur of Belgium was second in 4:10. She's raced a lot recently, hasn't she? Then Jean Collonges of France was third in 4:11. And good to see Lucy Hall still progressing at 70.3. She was fourth in 4:13. And then in the men's race, I love this guy's surname, Frederick Funk took the win in 3:35 ahead of Peter Heinrich of Belgium in 3:36. And then his Belgian teammate Kenneth Van Drijsche was third.
Awesome stuff. Now, we also had some long distance racing over at Ironman Barcelona, renowned as being a very fast course. And it was a fast day and a fast course as well, wasn't it? We had wins there for Florian Anger and Sarah Svensk. Let's talk about the times a little bit on the ladies' side first. So we had a nosy, didn't we, before the show today to look at previous results. And the only Ironman result we could see of note for Sarah was that she'd been fifth at Texas last year. And here she's gone 8:34. Where she rode like a low 4:30s on the bike and closed it out with a 2:56 on the run. And again, we had a nosy. We've not seen a run quicker than sort of 3:10 before. So an astounding jump in performance for her run there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, she's known to be a decent runner. Like people would say, oh, watch out for her coming off the bike and sort of running her way through the field. And she was 10th at the 70.3 World Championships as well recently. So she won 70.3 St Polten as well earlier this year. So
good to see her start to put it together over the long distance and really
correct.
It's great when an athlete has a breakthrough at the iron distance, isn't it?
Yeah. So there you go. That'll be, I guess she'll take it. That'll be Kona sorted for next year.
It will be. Laura Zimmerman second and Katrien Verstuft in third ahead of Dimitri Lee Duke. Over on the men's side. And did we decide that this was, in fact, Florian Anger's debut over iron distance as far as we can work out?
Yes, it was.
What a way to kick it off, eh?
I know. So this is a young German athlete who used to be a former elite swimmer. He was second at the ETU Middle Distance Championships in 2018. He finished third at the championship, so the challenge race at San Marino, 2 years ago as well. So he's obviously
He's got form over the half
he
distance,
has got form. He's on Team Erdinger. So yeah, he has got a lot of form, a lot of speed, and clearly he nailed his debut.
Well, looking at the splits, how about this for a bit of speed? Sub 46-minute swim, so 45.56, 4:06 on the bike, and then closes it out with a 2:48. And I've had a nosy through the results. I can't see anyone who's ridden from the top 10 within 10 minutes of his bike time. So whether he rode with somebody or rode, not with, but if there was a few of them off the front and other people have detonated, but he was 10 minutes up on the bike ahead of an athlete of the standard of Freddie Van Leerd. So that's absolutely astounding way to put yourself on the map at iron distance racing, isn't it?
What did Matthias do the other week? Because that was on his debut, wasn't it? And he had the fastest Ironman debut in history.
It was a 52 or a 51. So you're right. That's good thinking, Hells. This is 5 minutes fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's been taken.
Yeah.
If it is indeed his iron distance debut, as we think.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll do a bit more digging and get back to you on this one, audience. Wow. 7:45 on debut.
Oh, and look who else is in there, right? Sorry, Elliot Smales, we were mentioning it was his debut as well. And he's had a great race there with a
stormer, hasn't he?
2:43 marathon to finish in 8:01. Elliot, congratulations.
That's not a bad way to start your iron distance career with a 2:43 off the bike, is it, to go 8:01? Wow.
That is decent. And then look who's in 7th, Rob.
I know. Yes, I was going to get to that. Cool stuff, hey?
Yeah.
So you will remember, listeners, that we had Sam Laidlow on, racing under the French flag, brought up in France, but of British parentage. He won the Lakesman this year, a very, very toasty time indeed. And he's finished 7th there with a 2:55. Let's go through his splits as well. 46.40 on the swim, solid. 4:19 on the bike, closes it out with a 2:55 on the run. So great to see him dial one of those out in an inverted commas branded race.
Yeah, and then we should say Freddie Van Leerd was second in 7:53, and Nick Castelline as well. Great result for him, 7:57 to take third.
And then I also saw down in 11th, Sam Pictor put an 8:13 on the board as well. So good work to you.
Nice one. Nice one.
Good stuff. Right then. I'm lost where we are on this Kona chat. Let's do a bit of a chat ahead of Kona.
Chat.
Exciting times. Ironman World Championships coming up this weekend.
I've already been looking at the all the glorious photos and people putting out their training on out on the bike, putting in the last few weeks and days now of training, and it's like, oh look, it's very exciting.
So let's have a chat through then what we see going on, and then I think we'll play our crystal ball game, Hells, and we'll predict what we think is going to happen and who's maybe going to finish where, shall we?
Okay, let's do it.
First up, listeners, you get to play along with this. Remember, you get to play along at home, but the deal is you have to write down your top 3 and you have to post it into the Oxygenetic Triathlon community group. I'll start a thread in there later, and we will see if anybody manages to get the top 3 correct, shall we?
Yes,
we'll have some kind of prize for it. I don't know what that's going to be yet. I'll send you a hat. I'll send you one of our trucker caps. How about that if you get the top 3 right? So first up, a bit of background information then. It was the Hoala Ironman training swim just yesterday. News freshly released as we're recording. And who takes it out, Hells, on the male side other than Alistair Brownlee?
Yeah, Ali Brownlee.
So interesting facts here. I've had a nosy through Old Torsten's try rating. Now the swim's very slightly different. It ends on the opposite side of the pier than it will on race day, but it's the same distance still Course record for the male swim was Jan Siberson last year racing as an age
Yes.
grouper, went 46.29. Ali's gone 46.07. So again, slightly different course, obviously different day, but that's a shot across everybody's bows, isn't it? Leads out a group of 5, including super swimmer Josh Amberger.
Yeah.
And also Gordon Benson, who I don't think is racing Kona, is he?
No, he's a training partner though.
Yeah.
So he'll be out there training with him, yeah.
And a bit of context, sort of 3 minutes ahead of Andy Bockerer in 6th.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've seen before,
Tim Don did a race to 49 there.
Right.
Mark Threlfall, 51. Will Clark, 51.
So
Cam Worth, 52.
We don't know, do we, how hard these guys are going at this point?
No.
What we do know is Ali Brownlee is super competitive and is probably racing in the practice swim because he doesn't ever seem to do anything else. But in order to firstly gap Josh Amberger, you've got to put a bit of a spurt in at the end. And last year, I think Josh Amberger dialed it back a bit on the swim, didn't he? He didn't go crazy off the front. So, how do you see the men's race playing out this year, Hells?
Well, I was just going to give you my top 3, Rob.
Well, yeah, okay, go on.
You can go with how it's going to play out, and I'm just going to give you my top 3 if you want.
Your top 3, go on.
Okay, so well, I'm stuck on 2. Right, I'm going to say Jan Frodeno for the win.
Okay.
I'm just going to go a bit different. I'm going to go a bit out there, right? And this probably won't happen, but I just like to do something a bit different. So Cam Worth, 2nd.
Interesting.
Yeah. Dark horse here. Braden Curry, 3rd.
Interesting.
Told you, different.
Yeah, so you've gone with Jan.
Yep.
You've gone with Cam Worth.
Cam Worth. Yeah.
You've gone with Braden Curry.
No, I'm swapping it. I'm going McNamee 3rd. Sorry.
I've written it down. No, it's okay.
No,
it's not
Dave
posted,
McNamee's
so
going
it's
in
okay.
3rd.
So you're going with David Mack. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. I am going with Jan also for the win.
Yep. Yep.
I am going with Patrick Langer for 2nd.
Nice. Yep.
And I am going with Sebi Kienle for 3rd.
Oh, okay. So you were going, I'm going to write it down on our sheet as well. You're going Frodo.
Yep.
You're going Lang.
Yeah.
And you're going Kienle.
Yeah.
Okay.
However,
I don't think, you know what? I think we're going to be proven wrong on all these. But go on. However,
here's how, and this is the really interesting thing, isn't it? It's how it plays out. I think we're going to have at least Ali Brownlee and Josh Amberger go off the front in the swim.
Okay.
Because I think that's just how Ali Brownlee is going to go full gas, and I think Josh Amberger will go with him, and maybe 1 or 2 others as well. Whether they'll be able to stay with him or get blown off the back, I don't know, but I think we'll see those 2 come out first. And I love Ali Brownlee, but I can see him riding off the front on his own for a lot of the first half of the ride, and then it's all going to be down to how he handles the heat on the run. I can absolutely see him winning it on his debut if everything goes right with the heat and humidity, but I think it's going to be totally temperature dependent with that. He's absolutely got the pedigree for it. We've just seen so many athletes of incredible pedigree go to Kona, and I think he'll be approaching it like there's no pressure. He's just there to learn and see what everything's all about.
Yep.
I think we are going to see Cam Worth go zooming up the road on the bike. I think he's going to probably end up with Lionel Sanders trying to bridge up to him. He's probably going to end up with a couple of other super bikers as well. I don't see him running well enough in the heat and humidity to hold on for a podium. I think he'll be a big contender, and I don't think that they'll see him until late in the marathon. But unless something's changed in his preparation physiology, I don't see him holding on for the podium.
Okay.
But I love him, and I'd love to be proved wrong. I've got written down in my little list of asterisks underneath here, I've got Braden Curry and David McNamee in terms of people who, if you think last year, a race went on behind it we didn't see a lot of, didn't it, with Braden Curry and Tim O'Donnell really going for it shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. And Braden Curry in particular only needs a little bit of extra luck or a little bit of extra tweak on the day. Yep. He could take the win. And you just can't count against David McNamee with that run. He's a super, super performer in Kona who can just run so well. And if he can be a little bit closer to the front,
Yeah.
I think I watched a video the other day where it said he went into the energy lab I can't remember what the numbers were now. Like he went in 14th and came out within stretching distance of 4th. So he's just so strong on that back end of the bike. I saw some bits and bobs of video this week as well. So the reason Sebi's jumped in here into my top 3, there was a video of him training out in Maui, doing some run training with, he was running with Joe Skipper actually.
Skipper, yeah. And Langer was out there as well, I think, wasn't he?
That's right.
Yeah.
They were sharing a house, weren't they? He looks so strong. And I think his performance in Germany, where he stepped on that piece of glass and he ran back to Frodeno's shoulder, and I just think he's got this. He's got, as he described it, he said that I wanted to change coaches before I was like at the end of my career, and I didn't want my new coach to feel he just had one last shot with me. I think the pressure's off him and he's in amazing shape. And although Patrick's not really showing anything this year in terms of form, he did have a good run off the bike at the 70.3 World Championships, didn't he? And every year he's almost come from, here he comes on race day and he just performs so well out there. So you can't discount the 2-time defending champion.
No.
But he comes in with almost no form, doesn't he?
Yeah, yep. I'd agree with you on that one. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be really good. I'm very excited to watch it.
I really think we're going to have Jan and Sebi running shoulder to shoulder and Patrick bridging up to them, and there's going to be that 3-person duel, and I just hope to God they show it and don't stick on other stuff. Film the racing, don't film whoever happens to be in the lead, or just film whoever's in the lead.
We definitely want to see the racing. What about someone like Bart Arnault?
Do you know, I was looking at him on Torsten's Tri Rating. You're dead right. Finished second last year, and he doesn't figure in our conversation. And I don't know why that is. He's an absolutely stellar athlete. Again, another one. He could make that little bridge this year and win it, or he could finish 10th.
Exactly.
We just don't know, do we?
No.
We just don't know.
Do comment on any of our predictions here, because anything can happen, and that's the beauty of it. But it's quite exciting to imagine it and pick where your money's going to be. What about the women's race, Rob? What are your top 3?
Race. My
top
three. I have got a top 3.
Okay.
And it's dead simple because I'm going with what we had last year. I'm going with Reef, Charles, and Haug in that order.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm going a bit out there.
Okay, go on.
Reef.
Yep.
Then I'm going Annie Haug.
Okay.
Right, and then, and again, I really might be proven wrong here, probably will be, but I'm going Laura Philipp, 3rd.
Are you really?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
The dark horse, no previous Kona results. I like it. Bit of a wild card. So what do you think is going to happen to Lucy this year?
I
think she's... Because we've got to think this.
I think she's going to be right up there, but I just like predicting a slightly different top 3.
She's had 2 stellar years, hasn't she, in a row, where she's obviously swum off the front, she's biked at the front,
I think that'll still happen.
She's had a really strong run, and it seems like she's still improving year on year.
Yeah.
But we just don't know.
Honestly, she's going to be right up there.
Yeah.
But I just want to pick something a little bit different.
Yeah, good for you. And let's have a wild card as well. Let's have a wild card for one to watch.
For the women's race?
Because I'm going to go with Susie Cheetham. Bit of a British flavour, but she always has in the past had this good year, not so good year, good year, not so good year pattern going on. And I joked about her with this when she was on the podcast. I told her, I think you do a good year. So I think she's of a quality that she can run herself definitely into the top 5, and who knows if it all goes right onto the podium. So she's my wild card.
Okay, I like that. I think we need to be keeping an eye out for a decent result from Nikki Bartlett as well. She's in really good form at the moment.
Okay, so she's your wild card, is she?
Not for the top 3.
But good, for you think maybe top 10?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Having followed her all the way from the first show of the podcast.
Yeah.
Turning pro to ending up, well, to getting this year in the top 10. Who knows where she could end up? Let's be clear about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Right, cool. Well, there's our Kona chat
everyone
then.
can prove me wrong, and you can all, everyone out there is going to prove me wrong as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so anyway,
just...
let's say we want to hear people's, let's see if we can get a bit of chat going about this. We'll put a post up in the Oxygen Addict Triathlon Community Facebook page and give us your top 3. And if you want to give us some reasonings why as well, it's exciting to watch how this stuff's going to play out in people's heads beforehand.
Yeah.
Cool, EO. Right then, Hells, we have a stonker of an interview this week. Please tell us all about it.
So this week's interview of the week is with an amazing person called Arild Tveiten, and Arild Tveiten is the man taking Norway to the top of the triathlon world. He is the Norwegian coach, so he is the brains behind Gustav Iden's 70.3 World Championship win. He's the coach who has guided Kristian Blummenfelt since the age of 17. He's the guy who led Norway to that what the hell 1-2-3 at WTS Bermuda in 2018. It's very interesting. But when he started coaching, he didn't have any formal coaching qualifications, as you will hear in the interview.
Great.
He's raced Norseman. He's raced at Kona a few times. Like, he was a really, really good athlete himself. But it's this sort of group environment, and it's all the technology that they're using and everything else that you're going to hear as to how this incredible story of Norway becoming one of the strongest nations in triathlon currently in the world. So here is this week's interview of the week with Arild Tveiten. Arild Tveiten, hello and welcome to the Oxygen Addict Triathlon podcast. How are you?
Oh, hello, Helen. Yes, I'm fine, thank you. And thank you for having me. Looking forward to that.
It's a pleasure. So where are you at the moment as we hit record? Because I know when I first was in touch, you were in Spain.
Yeah, I was in Spain we have a little training camp and also, of course, a U23 European Championship. But now I'm back in Norway and back home planning the next season. Which for us start next week after the Super League in Jersey. Then we go to altitude down in Sierra Nevada.
Is that normal for many other federations to be starting their season next week?
I think we are a little bit early, actually. But the Worlds was finished quite early this year. And it also, like, since we have 2 of our best athletes doing 2 Super League races, we found out that we actually start a build-up for the next season between these 2 races. So it seems to be quite strange to do it that way, but with the logistics, that was the best way to do it. And I have to say that Kristian Blummenfelt and Gustav Iden, who will do the Super League races, they will have a little off-season in December again. So,
good. So they will get a little bit of a break.
Yeah, they will have a little break. But no, right now they're so motivated to do some good races at the end of the season. So, yeah, they will be happy to do that. And so this camp is actually for them is more a little bit build up and a little bit mental break, but also, of course, preparation for the last race of the season, who is the Super League in Malta.
Has it felt like a really long season this year?
Yes, I think all seasons are almost overlapping each other. For us, I think that the last 3 years after the Olympics in Rio, we've just been a long build-up. And and this season has been long because we normally start with altitude camp in October, and then we have a new camp in December, and in January it's camp all until we do the races. So, yeah, but I think that's almost the same for all the top athletes in this sport. And the season is long. Abu Dhabi, the first WTS race is in 1st of March, and this year, 1st of September was the last race, the grand final. So normally that's a quite long season, actually.
Yeah, and of course at the end of, or would it have been the beginning of last season? I don't know, but you would have had the 70.3 in the Middle East as well.
Yes, last year they did the 70.3 race in Bahrain as a kind of a build-up to the new season. So yeah, and this year they will do the Super League and will finish at around 20th October, and then maybe one or two will do the 70.3 in Bahrain again in December. Yeah, so it's fully around, but we try to take some breaks between and to make sure that have enough time for resting and do some other stuff.
Do you get a break?
For the coaches, it's a little bit difficult actually, because when we have finished the season, we are already working for the next season, and these days now I've been booking all the camps for next year and all the planning. So right now I almost know every day where I will be in the world the next year because of the planning. So,
wow.
So I find it's a little bit difficult to have a time off, but December is normally a little bit easier time for us as the coaches.
Okay. Yeah, because it must be really difficult to actually to switch off, because you always want the best for your athletes, and yeah, it must be really hard.
Yes, I think that's kind of the art of coaching, because you are so involved and committed to the work you do that it's, even if you say you should turn off and take a time off, it's very difficult to do it because you're thinking about the next program, the next day, and the progression of the athletes and new program and how you should do it the next year. And as a coach for the athletes, I'm making the daily planning for all of them. And of course, they have maybe 2 or 3 weeks a year when they don't have any program from me, but they are overlapping each other. So it's no week in 1 year when I have no athletes with no program. but it's a kind of a lifestyle, I think. I think it's the same for all the top coaches.
And did you imagine when you first started to work with the young up and coming Norwegian athletes, because it was 2011, am I right in saying?
Yeah, I started with Kristian Blummenfelt in 2011 and officially starting in federation in 2012. 2012.
Did you ever imagine that you'd be sort of here now doing what you're doing and having the success that you've had?
Actually, no. No, of course, when we started, we had a kind of a specific goal that we want to have athletes in the Olympics and also fighting for medals in the Tokyo Olympics. But I think when I started, you didn't actually realize what that really meant, how much work it would be, the commitment you needed to do. And of course, when I started, I was not sure if I had the knowledge to do that. So it's just by step and day by day. And it's almost like at the end of every season is that, next year it was all blow apart and this is the end. But when you have done it some years, you feel more and more confident that you are doing something right, and we're having progression and things are getting better. But it's a little bit strange actually, because it was very difficult to imagine the whole work and at the level battles would be at when we started back in 2011. When I started with Kristian, he was of course a good athlete, but he was 16 years old, and it's quite difficult to see how good he could be within the next. Now it's since gone 9 years. So you see a potential, but you never know how much you can get out of it.
You must be so proud, and I'm sure you'd say this. You're not even at the end of where you think that the athletes, where the guys can be. But I mean, from what you've achieved already, you must be super proud.
Yes, of course, but I'm the guy who always thinking about the bad races that done. So So even we have a lot of the end of the season is obviously been very good, but for me it's as much okay. Why was not the first part of the season so good? So I'm thinking a lot about that. So I think for me it's a little bit difficult to be really proud and happy with the result because I always wanted to do and achieve something more. But of course, they have come a long way. And I know that the work I have done and the work they have done is been fantastic. And so you're of course happy with that, but never really satisfied because you always want to go aim for something bigger and higher.
And I guess that's like any athlete as well. And obviously you used to race and you'd get to the end of a race and there's always something that you think, well, that could have been better.
Yes, I think that is quite normal because, okay, in Norway, you of course, if you win a race, you will always be happy, but you always start thinking, what could be even better the next time? And even if that, let's say that they want to win, I think what they actually want is having the perfect race. Yeah. And if they win, they're of course very happy, but if they win and have the perfect race, that will be even better for them.
Do you think then that Gustav Iden had the perfect race to become 70.3 world champion?
That was very close to perfect. When we see it afterwards, yes, it was perfect. He has his best swim in his life. His bike was fantastic, and he has a super run. But I actually have to say that when we did the analytics before the race, we actually thought that he maybe could do 30-40 seconds faster on the run. But when we see it after the race, we know that the pacing for all the big guys, especially of the Colivans, was a little bit higher than I think most of them actually had planned. So most of the athletes suffered a bit on the run on that. So, but in all, it was very close to the perfect race.
Were you going in there expecting Gustav or Kristian to win?
I have to say yes. I was very surprised. I would have been very surprised if not one of them would have won the race. It seemed to be a little bit arrogant, but based on the data we had and all the training and the fitness level, I was quite certain that one of them would win the race. I was not sure that it would be Gustav or Kristian, but we thought that maybe Gustav was a little bit sharper, especially because his technical skills on the bike down is a little bit better than Kristian. But it was very small margins, and for Kristian, I think the big disadvantage for him was that he didn't have enough time to tune in his aerodynamic and perfect riding position on his bike. And then he suffered a little bit on the Colivans, so he was not so close to the front that he should be and wanted to be. And then he, of course, losing some time downhill. And I think that if you have 2, 3, 4 more weeks on his new Specialized bike, I think he could be up there and be fighting for the win too. But, yeah, that's something we never know.
What was the thinking behind Gustav being on the road bike and Kristian being on his TT bike? Well, nearly every single other athlete being on the TT bike.
Yeah, a little bit is about the sponsorship possibility, because at that time, of course, Kristian had a really good sponsorship with Specialized, and they, of course, wanted him to race with the new bike. And, of course, then he did that. But the thing is, he just did the first test of the bike. He did the day before he won the grand final in Lausanne. Then he did a little bit bike fit, and the day after the grand final in Lausanne, on Sunday, 6 days before the Nice race, he had his first bike ride out on that bike. So it's a little bit short of time.
Yeah.
But he has been traveling the last 3 months, so that was almost the only possibility he had. For Gustav's sake, it was like he had that time to ride bike, but that was very old and heavy. And he knew that his aero position on his road bike was really, really good. And that was the bike he had been using the whole season. So he was very comfortable of just using the same bike. He of course switched his aero bars to a non-drafting aero bar, so he gets stretched out a little bit more. But except for that, he didn't do any changes, and for him that was the right decision. But if he had a very good time trial bike at the same level as the other, and he had enough time to train on it, he would of course use that too.
And did he have problems with his helmet, or was he wearing a helmet that he had only got the day before, or something like that?
Yes. It's not that he had a problem with his helmet, but it was a misunderstanding because he was supposed to get a new helmet from his sponsor, so he didn't bring his helmet with him.
Oh no!
So when he he had his world bike helmet, but he wanted a more aerodynamic. So it was more like then he just asked on the Instagram if someone wanted to give him a helmet for the race, and then he got the possibility to wear a Kodio. I can't remember the brand, but it was a manufacturer who actually gave him a helmet for that race.
They must have loved it.
Yeah. I think that made a quite good deal, so they were happy. And the sponsor originally planned to give him a helmet. I think they were a little bit sorry that Badin was able to bring it to him, but that was there for, because they promised him to give him the helmet, and then they forgot it.
Oh dear! That honestly, the company that stepped in must be the happiest helmet company ever.
Yeah, I heard that they were very happy with that. That was quite cheap for them. It's just a free helmet. And then I got the World Champion.
So when you're watching the guys, are you ever reminiscing for when you used to race as well?
Yeah, but I have to say that when I raced, I was not good. Of course, you remember the adrenaline and way of racing, but they are a totally different league, and a much higher level than I was at. The training they do, everything they do is totally different. What I did in the 90s when I tried to do racing triathlon at the international level.
So how did you end up coaching within the Norwegian team? It's a fascinating story.
Yes, it's a part of different things, but I actually didn't plan to go into coaching that way. But I started to do a little bit of age group coaching, besides my ordinary job, because I have the time for it, and I also did the training myself, and I thought, okay, I can do that, and that was in many ways quite easy job, and age group, they don't expect too much, so the program was it was of course good training program and good coaching, but it was not that you working your ass off for it, but then someone asked me if I wanted to coach the Norwegian youth athletes. You need to remember that time, and many of the athletes can never race triathlon before, and they were between 14 and 16 years old. And I was like, I don't want to do that. The draft legal racing, I'm not so interested in that. I don't want to do that. But then they convinced me. I was like, okay, can you please come to a training camp? And then I met actually Kristian, and met Gustav Iden. Lotte Miller was there. She was 14 years old then and had never done a triathlon before. Gustav the same.
Wow.
I was like, okay, let's see. And I saw some nice guys, and some of them showed some kind of a potential, but again, they were quite young. So for instance, Gustav, he could barely swim at that time. I think when he did the 800 meters test, I think it was 14 or 15 minutes. It was really slow. But he was really fast in running. And then I knew he was one of the national leading cyclists of his age. So I thought, okay, maybe he could be a potential star in triathlon. So he was on the team. but the first year it was only they asked me to coach Kristian, and that was before I started officially with federation. I said, okay, I can start working with one guy the first year, and I can see maybe I can get some result of it. But normally, as I said, I coach age grouper doing Ironman, and then I should coach a 16 years young guy who wanted to be good at that time. But it's sprint races. It's quite a different approach.
Yeah.
But then you, of course, you get to know each other, and then you started the work, and you actually see that the sport at that level, because he wanted to be the best. He said that when he was 16, I want to win the Olympics. I said, okay, are you kidding, or you mean it seriously? But of course he was. And then we start digging into what you needed to do to actually achieve that goal, and then you see the complexity of the sport compared. And to be honest, to coaching age group or doing Ironman race is quite simple, because it's just going long almost. But at the Olympic sport, it's much more complex, because you need to be at a really high level in swimming, you need to be technical on the bike, you have technical skills, and of course the running, you need to be able to run 10k less than 30 minutes. Of course that is totally different than running a marathon in 4 hours. So I was very into this. I was very fascinated about it, and then I started to dig more into the research. And it seems that the first year with Kristian, he performed really well. I think he was 8th in the junior World Championship, and then I was offered a job in federation, working with all the other athletes. And since that, it's just going one way, and yeah. So that is the story in many ways, but it was some people who need to talk me into the sport as in coaching young athletes, because I was not ready for that at that time. But I don't regret doing it. It's been a good journey, and we are just many steps and much more to come.
Wow. So you were pretty much talked into becoming the the national coach with the youngsters.
Yes. So many people think we have had a really professional talent identification program, but I was actually talked into to be a coach, and the athletes we choose from, it was many. Okay, we didn't have so many athletes at all. So we just had to choose what we had. But luckily, we was on really good athletes with full potential, but they didn't show it that time. But already at the first training camp, then you had Lotte Miller, Gustav Iden, Kristian Blummenfelt. We also had Casper Stornes. He actually joined us 1 year later. But all of them were there the first time I met them. So they are athletes I've been working with almost on daily basis since they were, for Kristian when he was 16 and Gustav when he was 15. So it's been quite a long journey now.
Do you sometimes feel like a bit of a family? Do you sometimes feel a bit like their dad?
In some ways, you feel we are a big family, and I think in many ways they trust me in that way. But on the other hand, I'm also the one who needs to take the decision. And if you come to training, we are probably one of the groups that trains most, and so you cannot only be the dad for them. You need to be the coach and also the boss and also the sport director. So I'm actually the one who decide who's going to be on the team and who's not going to be on the team. Yeah. So it's a lot of different roles, but I think when people see us, they will see a lot of mutual respect between each other, and a group and a team who's working really hard together toward the same goals. And I think that's been possible because we have been working so close together for so many years.
And is that why you think that, Norway has become like this incredibly strong nation, especially on the male side, in triathlon, because you've all been together? since they were young as well.
Yes, I think that is one of the big, most important factors. As I said, I don't think we didn't have any talent identification program or performance program. We just picked the athletes we had. And out of these, we need to make them work together and have the group working together. And I think that you can get as good as you want with almost everyone if you make the group to work together. So it is maybe a little bit unique that we as a federation and one national team do the same, because what we see from many other countries is that the athletes are split in a lot of different training groups. But I think you will see some of the same training environment if you go on to other private coaching groups. Jorfilio do, Paula Sousa, they do some of the same things. Brian, you see it's a group of athletes working together. They're helping each other. So I see that in other training groups also. But what is quite unique is that we are a part of a national team and been doing that for quite a long time. And I can actually say that when our athletes are performing at the highest level, I am building them up step by step since they were young athletes. So that is a little bit different, yeah.
And how important for you guys is technology? That's almost like that's vital, isn't it?
Yes, for us, technology is almost everything. Of course, in one way, as a coach, some of the key aspect is to keep the training simple. But we use a lot of technology to dial in the intensity that the athletes need to do at a different kind of training. When we started out, we of course was a group of young athletes with no result, and we wanted to be playing with big players, be the best in the world. Then you actually need to do something different and better than your competitors. If you just copy what they do, you will just be behind them, and if you are lucky, at the same level. But say when you started out, we were not especially good. So I pay a lot of attention. What can we do to be a little bit better than the others? So one of the things we do a lot of training together and quite high volume. But then you come to the point, it's no point of training a lot of volume if you not can tolerate the volume and the training load. So therefore come the intensity factor in, and it's really important. And in the beginning, it was like, okay, using a heart rate monitor, that's good enough. But then we thought, okay, we need also a power meter on the bike and a power meter on running. And then we see that we need to use of technology to dial in the optimum intensity on every training session. And for us, that's been really important to handle the training load we think we need to do to be the best athletes in the world. But that's the way we work. And it's not that the athletes think that they are too much and too stressful. I think that they actually enjoy it. And for me as a coach, it's just to find a balance, because in the end, training should be quite simple. So even if you're using the technology, using it in the right way is quite important. That was a quite long answer.
No, it's it's a good answer. I was listening carefully, and I was thinking, the guys obviously respond really, really well to it. There aren't as many top females that you work with. Do you think that they would, I don't know, like it as much? Do you think it would work as well for them? I know Lisa Norden trains with you as well.
Yeah, yes. Of course, with a woman, it could be a little bit different. And we try to pay a lot of attention to be quite individual with athletes. But what we actually have seen in Norway, I think is to be a woman and try to succeed in a quite tough endurance sport. it's quite difficult, not because they don't have the talent or don't want to do the training, because they are very motivated to do that. But we see it in one way many, because at that level, when you start doing triathlon, there's no money involved. So when you are finishing high school, you're thinking about you need education, and your family press you with, you need to take your education, and many girls find it a little bit difficult to go all in for the sport. Because they want to have something besides. But as the boys on the team, they just go all in for it. They're not studying nothing. They are 100% professional. So I think it's a little bit mental attitude for some of the women. It's a little bit tough, especially in Norway, because you unless you succeed, you don't get any support. It's very difficult to get sponsors and any funding. So it's a little bit complex. But of course, we have now we have 4 girls. Now we have 3 on the national team. They are not 2 of them training with the group almost every day, and then we have 2 from other countries. We have, for instance, Lisa Modern, and they really like the training and the way we do it. But of course, we work with the girls a little bit differently than men.
That's it's really, really interesting. And one thing we recently interviewed Mathias Pettersen, who he is a young Danish athlete who recently finished 3rd at Ironman Kalmar on his Ironman debut. But one point that he made in his interview was about the junta law in Scandinavia.
Yep.
And I had never heard of it, and I googled it and I looked it up, and I thought, wow, that's a really fascinating aspect. So he was saying that for him and for some of the other younger Danish athletes, that's going on in the back of their mind a bit, so they're not quite so good when it comes to trying to market themselves. But I don't think that Kristian and Gustav perhaps have the same sort of, I don't know, have the same psyche maybe? I don't know, what do you think? And what if you just explain junta law for people that don't really know?
Yes, junta law means something that you should not think of yourself as anybody not better than anyone else. So you should not stick out for the crowd. You should be one of the crowd. You should be average in all way. So if you want to, let's say Kristian and Gustav, they are not like that, but just to stick out and say, I want to be a world champion, that is something that you should not do in a Nordic country. It's better to be with the crowd, do what the others do. Don't do it better, don't do it worse, just be totally average. That is what you are supposed to do, and so that is quite tough for many athletes, because that is what you are supposed to do. So when you stick out for it, you have a lot of criticism, and people think you are not so good because you are talking yourself up, and it's very different attitude that compared to what you have in the US, where everyone thinks they are world champion and quite unique. And as I say, in Nordic countries, you should be average.
So if you had to help the guys almost go away from the junta law and actually had to help them sort of talk themselves up.
Yes, okay. With some of our athletes, it was quite easy. Kristian said the first day I met him that he wanted to be the world champion, so he was in that way very unique. But one of the things that are actually working with them, if I take a story from when I was on the national team in the 90s, we were very happy to be best in Norway. And if you were 10 minutes behind the best in Europe or in the world, we were quite happy with that because we were still best in Norway. But when I started working with a group, I said there is no limiting factor that we cannot be the best in the world. So I saw that within 1 or 2 years, people will actually believe that they could be best in the world. And after maybe 1 more year, were able to start talking about it. And for me, I've been working quite hard with athletes to believe that you can achieve everything you want if you do the work. I don't believe in any shortcuts or you can make an easy way, but I've been working very hard to make them believe that anything is possible. And that's just a little bit untypical. Also, as a coach, if you want to be a world-class coach working with the best athletes, I think that's the attitude you need to have. But it's a little bit different than what you are supposed to do. So don't stick your head out in nowhere. But we have broken that, and I think our athletes actually believe that can be the best in the world. They actually improve that, but they believed in many years that they actually do the best training in the world. That is necessarily not correct, but just to believe in it it's quite important.
Definitely, and therefore, stupid question to finish off with.
Yeah.
Do we believe, and are we going to have a Norwegian Olympic champion?
Yes. That was the shortest answer I have today.
It's a great answer. Are we going to have a 1, 2, 3?
We could have. That would be very difficult. On the maximum day, I think we have all the top three athletes could be on the podium. And we were working really, really hard to have everyone have the perfect day in Tokyo next year.
And will they be racing as a team, or will it be individual?
Actually, we haven't discussed that yet, but right now we say that we are working as individuals. We are working as a team toward the games. On the race, they were racing as an individual. It's not that we pick someone to win, but we are quite clear that we don't want to have anyone to destroy from the others. But it's a lot of possibilities to solve that we have showed, for instance, in Bermuda. They race for themselves. The best man that day will win the race.
Arild, you have the most incredible. You've had a most incredible few years. You've got even more incredible few years to come. It's fascinating talking to you. I could carry on, but I'm not going to. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, my pleasure. It was really nice talking to you, and it was good.
What a nice guy he was to interview, Rob. I really enjoyed. Really, really nice, and just I found it really, really interesting talking to him about all those different things. So, about the Olympics, about the road bike or the time trial bike, and the helmets. What the heck? I mean, so as he was saying in that about Gustav Iden, didn't even have a helmet sort of sponsor.
Yeah, and I read an interview with him with Gustav Iden where he was saying he basically tweeted out the day before the race, and people were offering to lend him. I believe India Lee offered to lend him her time trial helmet, which is super sweet.
So it's brilliant. So it's a really cool story, I think.
Yeah, it really is, definitely. Nice work. And watch this space for the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. That would be brilliant if they can secure a medal, won't it?
Oh, yeah. I think, why can't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, Coach's Couch this week. We have got a little note in the Facebook page from Joanna Barlow.
Hello, she says, I'm a new triathlete, having taken part in my first 2 sprint triathlons this summer. My plan was to progress to Olympic distance next year, but I supported some friends at Weymouth 70.3, and now I'm impatiently waiting for entries to open so I can sign up.
Awesome. So I just wanted to say with this one, let's give Joanna some encouragement and say you absolutely can go from doing your first sprints to doing a 70.3 in a year. Like, don't hang about for another year. Get in there and get it entered. And all you've got to do is make sure that you structure your training right over the winter, and you can absolutely do that 70.3. And I was looking at this and thinking, do you remember when you weren't quite sure whether you could do something, and it takes a few friends around you to go,
horrible.
Yeah, come on, you can definitely do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes all it takes is that bit of encouragement. So Come on, Joanna.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you and know that you've entered either Weymouth or your first 70.3 for next year. That'd be awesome.
And a bit of encouragement. Two little words of encouragement here. A friend had been in touch with me saying that she had done the Bantham swoosh, you know, the 6K swim that I did last year. And I said to her, you should go and she was like, I loved it. It was amazing. Da, da, da. And I said, you should do the dark 10K. And she said, there's no way I could do 10K. I said, honestly, if you've done the swoosh, genuinely, you can do it. You know, you just have to get your ticket and get on it, and you'll have time and it'll be fine. And I think she was like, oh, I don't know. Anyway, I got a text and a photo through of the day of the race with this massive grin, and she's like, I'm so glad that you pushed me to do that. I absolutely loved it. So there's my one bit of little inspiration. The second one, Rob, when I was out in Italy, at Ironman Italy, they also had the 70.3, and there was a family out there, and there was, you know, dad who's done like 16 Ironman, and son, I think, was on number 3, and then daughter and daughter's friend were daughter was doing her first official Ironman 70.3 race, but it was only her second ever triathlon.
Oh wow.
Her friend had never even done a triathlon and went straight jumped in a sea swim, an Ironman 70.3, and it was amazing. I saw them at the finish, and they were just absolutely buzzing, and they had loved it. And she would have had all those doubts of, I've never even done a triathlon. I don't know what I'm doing. But at the same time, there's that naivety, isn't there? Because you don't know.
Did she finish, do you know? Did she get through it? Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's
I think
brilliant.
they both finished in around, I think, between sort of 6.5 and 7.5 hours.
That's really cool.
Isn't it?
I think if someone can do a triathlon on the way before they do the big event, it can be really, really valuable. Because, I mean, I love the story if you jump in and you do that in your first triathlon, but I heard a story this weekend of someone who tried something similar and didn't make it, had no idea where they kind of were in there, you know, just completely panicked. It was even my first open water swim, and I got pulled out by the rescue boat. And you hear that story and you go, that's so easy to take care of though, by just doing some stuff in preparation for your first race. So I was really gutted for this guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my thing. Like, do a couple of races along the way to get to your first big exciting race. But yeah, awesome stuff. If you manage to make it, fantastic. I'm just going to give a shout out here to say, if you've done a race this year that's not quite gone the way you wanted it to, we've got a link in the show notes to a form you can download and kind of go through your race, and it'll help you unpick what went right and maybe what didn't, and maybe you end up writing, maybe I should have done a triathlon before I did my first triathlon as a 70.3. It'll help you plan. And after that, I've got a couple of slots available on Skype where I could do a consultation with you for free and help you work out what's what if you're interested in training with Team Oxygen Addict. In fact, I don't think I've got any slots this coming week, but the week after Kona, 1 or 2 should open up, so that's good. So yeah, cool stuff. All right, Hells, let's go over into our news section. We've got a few bits and bobs to talk about, sponsored by FlowCell. So guys, if you're training over the winter, it's easy to think, well, I don't need a FlowCell on my bike because I don't really need to be carrying any nutrition or any spares kits when I'm on the turbo all winter. Do you know what I've found the FlowCell is perfect for?
Phone?
The phone, exactly. Yeah. So where do you put your phone so it doesn't get covered in sweat? It always falls off the towel on your aero bars if you've got your headphones in. It fits perfectly for your phone between your legs. There you go. Doesn't move around, and you can change your tunes as you're riding. So an excellent extra use for a FlowCell top tube nutritional carrier for the winter, Hells.
I like that. I like it.
Love it.
And by the way, if anyone does have any suggestions for decent earphones, headphones even, I'd love to hear what people think. So maybe wireless, but not the most expensive. I don't need to look cool. I just want things that, you know.
Just need some earbuds, dear.
I just want some earbuds. So if anyone has any suggestions for, you know, indoor, outdoor, multi-use, yeah, that would be amazing. I have just normal headphones, but the every time the phone moves or the headphone cord sort of moves slightly, then on my phone it comes up and it thinks that I want voice control. I'm like, no, I don't want voice control.
No, you need to
Come
sort
on.
it out, Helen. Come
So
on.
if anyone has any suggestions, then do let me know. Anyway, in other news, talking about doing 70.3 drop, there is a new 70.3 on the card, which is Austria in Graz.
Okay.
But what has happened there, that's going to be May the 24th next year, is there is no longer Ironman 70.3 St. Polten, and that has gone to a challenge race.
Oh, they're playing swap the events again, are they?
Swappy doody. So
They're playing
yeah,
spin the bottle with their events again. Oh, good.
correct. So 70.3
How
Graz. It looks very nice place to go and visit.
You love
And then
a bit of Austria, don't you?
Oh, I do love a bit of Austria and Switzerland. In other news, Rob, we mentioned not last week, the week before, about the PTO sort of trying to put their offer in to buy Ironman, the professional triathlon organization, but Wonder, who own Ironman, have rejected it. Andrew Messick, so the CEO of the World Triathlon Corporation, he said, I have discussed your letter with my board. While we appreciate your interest, we are not prepared to engage in a discussion around a sale at this point.
Yeah, no surprise there when the PTO have just appointed Challenge CEO Zibby to their board of directors.
So I think that happened next.
Yeah.
Didn't it?
Yeah.
So
It makes you wonder, obviously, because I think the bigger picture here is it's not really the PTO that are going to be buying the Ironman brand. It would be the finance company behind it, wouldn't it? So are they looking at an acquisition of Challenge? Who knows? Are we going to see a massive restructuring? Because Challenge have always had this reputation of really looking after pros, haven't they, in terms of both money and travel and accommodation and stuff like that. And have got a much better reputation for that than Ironman have, rightly or wrongly. So it would maybe feel like a better fit. But what happens then if the PTO are kind of officially owned by, or Challenge are officially owned by the PTO? Who knows? We'll see how it plays out, hey?
I know. I think there's a lot more to come from that.
Watch this space. Indeedly doodly. All right, well, I think we need to wrap this up, Hells. So everyone listening, remember, we want you to go over to our Facebook page and give us your predictions for Kona, top 3. And if you get the top 3 right, we're going to send you an Oxygen Addict podcast trucker cap. Cool. Get over to precisionhydration.com, foodsell.co.uk and support our sponsors, please, if you need any new stuff. And otherwise, we will see you again next week. I am Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And have a great, safe training and racing week, everybody. Take care, and we'll speak to you all again soon. Cheers now. See ya.